Hello, my friend. This is a quite special podcast/video episode since I'm going to take you behind the scenes and talk about the making of my latest music release. Bingsjö Lilla Långdans is a traditional Swedish tune that I play on the electric octave mandolin, my electric guitar, electric bass, some overdubbing included. And I want to give you first talk about what this music is and the instruments that I'm using. And also, of course, why I chose to record it and why I did it in these ways. What ideas did I kind of choose to continue? And then also for how I actually did it. I have my Logic project in front of me. So I can show you everything behind the scenes. And to be honest, I love just watching like behind the scenes kind of material. If it's movie making, if it's about making music, my artist showing me how they wrote a song, that kind of stuff is very fascinating to me. So hopefully this video can also inspire you in some way. And I did it like this. I have divided the music track into 3 different parts. We're going to listen to them one by one, and then I will break it down and dissect it a little bit to give you some insights. Also, if we haven't met before, my name is Magnus Zeterlund. Welcome to my studio here in Sweden, the Mandolin Secrets studio. Also, I should mention there are tutorials for this tune in the Academy, complete tutorials. So if you want to play it on the mandolin, check it out. And I've also prepared some guitar tabs that is available if you prefer that. I put links in the description here. And in the end of this video, I'm also going to give you a little conclusion, give you my 3 biggest learning out of making this track and putting it together. Because after all, when doing things like this, it's always things that, I wish I would have done it that way, or that way. So there are 3 big things that I'm going to experiences that I will bring into my next project. So I'm happy to share that. I make it in the end of this video. So first, quickly about this tune. It's a traditional Swedish tune, and I probably learned it over 20 years ago. I can't even remember when and how, but it's this kind of tune that if you are in the circuits of folk music here in Sweden, you will pick up this tune. It's pretty simple and it's very jam friendly. So if you meet people that you haven't played with before, and this tune is kind of part of the repertoire that you can kind of expect people to know. And it's also quite easy to play. I don't know too much about it really, but it's Bingsjö is a small village here in the county of Dalarna, where I live. So it's from there, and Bingsjö is also the host of the biggest fiddle camp here in Sweden, happening every summer, attracting thousands of folk musicians and dancers. Also, I can say that I kind of adapted this melody a little bit. I don't play it as people normally do, strictly. And to point out a few things, I kind of made it more like mandolin guitar friendly version, I would say. It's starting like, and same thing again. So it always starting like that. In my variation, I do this pickup. I do it sometimes, or even. So right there, you will see a little difference. So if you heard it played in another version, that's pretty natural. And for the B part, there is this. Very repetitive. Same thing happened again, but when in my version. So a little like an ornamentation, string ornamentation, and even I played yes, to make it, for at least for me, more fun to play and more interesting to listen to. And this actually brings us to an interesting question, that how much can you kind of adapt and change traditional material and still like say it's the traditional stuff? I don't have a simple answer to it, but for this tune and for I think we can be quite free, and I think that's also part of a tradition, really. The musicians, the artist, the creative person is like using the big well of traditional material, but to put their personal touch on. So from now on, some of you, maybe some people, will play this melody using my different variations to it. And I think that is part of a tradition. I don't say it's right or there's not right or wrong to this, but that's my personal take on it. And interesting subject, we can go deeper into that at some other point. Also, the instruments that I'm playing, you will probably recognize my electric octave mandolin by Jonathan Mann. I only had it since the end of last summer, so it's really new to me, but it's I love playing this instrument. And I've kept this idea for very long of recording traditional Swedish and Nordic music on my electric guitar and electric mandolins. So finally I made it a reality, and it's going to be more things like that. Did I mention, yes, the 3 parts of the music that we're going to play back, 3 different parts, and then talk about it. Starting here with the intro, going into the first like AABB. It has this simple AABB structure like most fiddle tunes. It's also interesting in that way that it's sort of like an endless loop kind of. When you finish the A parts, you want to go to the B part. When you finish the B parts, you want to go to the A part. So it's this ever going. So I can imagine people dancing for this for a long, long time. Yes, well, let's listen to it, and then I talk a little bit about the details around it. Yes, there's the first part. I want to check in with the Logic project here so you can see how it looks. I'm right here in Logic right now, and to the far left, this is the entire arrangement. If you're used to this kind of DAW environment, digital audio workstation, I think it's called, you recognize this structure. If you're not, I don't get stuck in that, but to the far left, you can see a list of all the instruments used. So in total here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 channels. It's not 11 instruments, and I'm going to show you. So in the upper part, there's 2 tracks covering drums. I want to address, because this is like MIDI programmed drums, so I want to address that later. Then I have 1 track with shakers. I'm doing some percussions, like a counting track. It is, counting me in, so it's easier to like multi-track something. Then there's 2 tracks here saying mandolin amp melody and mandolin load box melody. So each of those instruments use 2 channels, and the amp is my Fender Princeton amp, mic'd with an Shure SM57, my preferred mic for miking electric guitar. I haven't tried that many others, to be honest, but sounds great. I'm going to put also a link in the description to this gear if you want to check it out. Well, if you're like me, you're interested in that kind of stuff. So some of you might be. And then I have a load box on top of it. The load box allows me to also record a direct signal. I can go deeper into that, but maybe not in this video. So 2 tracks of the mandolin melody, 2 tracks of the mandolin solo, because there's a solo in the middle of the song, and it's on 2 different tracks. For a reason, I can come back to that. Then the bass track, only 1 track. And then we got the amp, the guitar melody with the amp and the load box as well. So we just listened to me playing this intro part on the electric guitar. And quickly about the guitar, I've been in love with it was my first instrument crush, was the Fender Stratocaster. I was 13 years old. I even kept a poster on my wall with a Fender Stratocaster, sunburst like this. I was listening a lot to Eric Clapton. He was my big hero. I was listening to Jimi Hendrix. They both played Stratocasters, so that's the big reasons. And ever since, I'm very fond of the sound and the feel of a Stratocaster. Musically, the song... Also, I can say the first traditional music that I ever played was on the electric guitar. It was my guitar, my music teacher when I was 15 years old, who taught us in march. I remember we even performed it. And so it's not that it's new to me to play this music on the guitar. It's just that, I haven't it's about time to bring it back again and do it more. Anyway, the tune starts with this simple idea. A to D, A to D. And for the intro, I'm kind of using that idea, using some double stops, and it looks like this. And all I'm doing is playing a double stop D chord, then A chord, D, A, D, A. And I'm doing it up and down, sort of. So it's really taking, that's how I like treating, arranging traditional music, because there is no more than a melody. That's the only thing I have to, so what can I get out of it? And kind of to take in the essence of a melody. Well, that little thing, it comes. And when putting the bass behind it, it comes alive, sort of. And then we going into the melody part. I already talked about it, a few variations I put there. So not too much to say around that, I think. And you can see that I'm kind of using the guitar for the intro, then the melody on the octave mandolin. So I wanted it to be like a little bit back and forth. Also talking about I don't play any like chords in terms of playing backup. There's nothing of that, and I wanted, because that's traditionally the guitar is not presented in this music. It's more like a fiddle tradition, and if two fiddles are playing this, it's going to be harmonies. It's a single note. So that's, I do it like that also. So it's like more like melodic harmony to it. But it's like, I have like a chord structure in my head when putting together harmonies like that. The harmonies are also included in the tutorials. Is there anything else to say about that? Well, not really. It's sort of intro. So also, it is a little bit like a pop kind of structure to it, pop song structure with the intro kind of idea, because that is, I want it more like a band kind of feel, using drum kit, bass, so it's a little like pop folk in a way. Well, yeah, that's just how I heard it in my head. So let's listen to the guitar and the octave mandolin doing this harmonies kind of thing, shifting. And also one thing that I do, I like to play it in two different octaves. So on the guitar, but also to play it in the high octave. So we're kind of, using the upper part of the thing, and I ended up using it like playing it one low octave, high octave, jumping back and forth. Goes for both the melody and the harmony. So let's listen to that. Yeah, so besides the mandolin and guitar, there's also the bass kind of playing continuously from the start to end. For the bass part, I kind of very simple kind of stuff. So it's in the 3/4 meter, 1 2 3 1, and I'm sort of dum dum do dum do 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 do. So basically playing on the first beat, doing some octaves kind of, and then simple stuff, but it's all in there. I love playing the bass. This is a Fender jazz bass, also quite new instrument to me. But then what's happening also, after playing through the song 2 times, the AABB, in different variations. I'm trying to make something happening all the time, so there are variations you can hear. But then I'm opening up for more like a mandolin kind of solo. And the way that I do it is just I'm trying to get in a good state of mind. I did 2 takes in front of the camera, just trying to come up, like trying to play very freely. And I had put down the bass, the drums was there, and the backing guitar was also recorded, so I had something to play against. So just throwing myself out there, let's listen to the solo. It sounds like this. So when doing something like that, I put it like this. When I'm recording the harmony, the melodies and the harmony, I try to be quite exact what I want to achieve in timing and all that. For this part, I can play more freely and I try not to overthink it. Simply, if I'm going to start overthinking it, I'm going to spend an entire day, entire week doing the same thing. But I'm just getting a good mood and something that I'm, And I think I actually captured a good take there. And also, it's not about making something perfect. I even realize I'm doing it when I'm doing something like this in one part of them. I'm kind of bending the note, it goes off my fretboard. So it was not intentional. It was sort of like a mistake, but I just kept it there. Because after all, it's not making something perfect, but you gotta also embrace those little mistakes and making it not too polished, I think. So if you listen back to it, you will realize that I'm doing that thing. You can even see the smile on my face when I realize that I'm carried away playing this. It's there anyway, and I'm still happy about that. So switching here into the Logic project again, you can see here, around here, at around bar 41 it is. And there's the shakers entering, and I love playing percussion and shakers, and I'm doing this. So just like subdividing the beat, and then with this one, I think I'm marking like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That kind of thing. So just something to give it a little more organic feel and giving like a drive to it. Because what I as I said, I did use programmed my MIDI drums for this. So if you're looking here, you can see where this is the speakeasy is Logic's drum kit. It's entering here. I'm going to bring it up a little bit. If you have used Logic Drummer, you know it's a powerful thing and fun thing to play around with. You can really get it to for playback. So the way that you're programming the Logic Drummer, you can do it in different ways. But I'm using, like, you can set it up to kind of match the music the way you want it. I'm using this manual feature where I'm programming the drums myself. I did set up a 4-bar length, and I mean, to be able to do this, you gotta have a little bit of experience with either drumming or, of course, drum programming. So I get the basic groove kind of to match my needs, and you can put variations to it, things like that. And I wasn't sure when I started if I'm going to use it or not. But my experience, I think timing wise, it works for me when I can play to a drum track. The timing thing works out good for me. It's difficult to add drums to something I've already played, but this way it works. Then it's a question of the sound. Is the sound as true as a real drummer? No, it isn't, and it's not like as vivid as a real drummer. But still, I decided, well, it's my music idea is there. So in this way, I kept the MIDI drums. But one thing though, if you are using, I can tell you, so once you have used the Logic Session Drummer to create a drum track like this, to be able to edit the very small details of this, you can use, if you right click and section like this, you say, here it says convert to MIDI region. That's what I did, and that's why it's a second track for the drums. So it's basically taking that information to a new track, and right here I can open this one up and I can start editing the final like a sequence window where I can change like individual notes and things like that. So that's so the workflow is, if you're going to use the Logic Drummer or something similar, you start with the draft using the plugin, sort of the features of that. Then when you're coming to the final end, when you want to like fine tune things, then makes the MIDI events out of it so that you can control all parameters. That's my my preferred way of doing it. And for example, so to be able to control the volume of, let's say, the snare drum, I actually, because there are different sounds of the snare drum involved in this pattern. There are like these brushes, kind of, but then there's also like when it's actually striking the. So I had to go in and kind of change the velocity of all those individual snares. That's technical kind of thing, but if you are into drum programming, I would say the Logic Drummer works just fine, and especially for getting like musical ideas, try them out. But in this case, I kept them all the way until the final mix. So zooming out here a little bit, you can see it. Here is the complete arrangement. So we have listened to the different parts. We haven't listened to the outro after the solo. Nothing really fancy happening there. Nothing worth pointing out. Yeah, that's pretty much it. If there are questions around it, please put it in the description below or in the community of Mandolin Secrets Academy. I'm happy to answer everything you're wondering of. And I also here in the conclusion, I want to share the 3 biggest learnings I had out of doing this. First of all, I had so much fun doing it. Yes, this is a creative process that is very fulfilling for me. So the first thing that I would do different is to try to find different sounds for the mandolin and the guitar. I did the mistake of dialing in my favorite tone for both instruments. I played it through the same amp. And it turns out they sound almost identical. Not identical, I can still hear the differences, but they are close enough, simply because I was I love this sound and for the both of them. So that means I don't think they kind of stand out enough for making a perfect mix. I would for my next project, I will try to separate them slightly without sacrificing too much of my ideal tone, of course, but something that makes them like interplay better when they're being more different. And the second learning that I'm going to make change different next time is around the the drums. And I told you that I've been in and started editing the velocity of individual drum strokes. And first I was trying to use other methods to dial in. So the problem was I could hear the brushing of the snare drum, like good, I think, like I wanted it. But then when it was hitting the snare, they were too loud. And I was trying to attack this from like adjusting the volume of the snare drum. I was trying to add a compressor and try different things like that. But I realized, no, you gotta go into the actual event level and change that. So if I have done that from the very start, it would have saved me a lot of time and frustration, actually. So, and also I'm working on a new music piece right now. For this one, I kind of engaged a professional session drummer to do the drumming. And hopefully that will give more character and give me a better result even. And it's also, of course, fun to include another person in this project. But if I'm going to use the Logic drummer and program drums again, I know how to kind of tackle the problem with the different levels of the different snare drum techniques. Then my third and the final learning of this tune, I'm going to at an early stage trying to decide the length of the track and the song that I'm working on. Because in this case, I had recorded a few more minutes of music, and then I realized I don't want it to be this long, so it came down to a lot of editing, and also, of course, like it is in this, kill your darling sort of. So I couldn't like put all my ideas into this arrangement, because I think it's about 3 minutes 30 seconds right now. If I just have thought about it from the start, I kind of knew that is actually what I'm going for this tune. More than enough to actually present my musical idea for this. So for my next project, I'm going to ask myself a little bit earlier, maybe not from the get-go, but hey, keep an eye on the length of this track. You don't want it to be 5 or 6 minutes. Or maybe at that point, I want it to be like that because there's enough musical material or ideas, but so that's one thing that I'm definitely going to try to ask myself a little bit earlier, because that would also have saved me time and headache if I have realized you got this length, you got all those ideas, how can we arrange it so you get everything together? Because in the very end, I haven't like sacrificed too much. As I said, I'm playing this in the low octave to the high octave, low octave, back and forth a bit, instead of playing the entire tune, low octave, entire tune, high octave, things like that. And I think it makes the music more interesting actually this way, to condense it a little bit. So my 3 biggest learnings: different sounds for the guitar, mandolin, program the drums at event level, and decide on the length of the track a little bit earlier. I also want to show you this beautiful art cover made by Michael Armio Wolf of Bezalel Design. He's a designer artist that helped me a lot over the years. But I think this is really beautiful. The photo is showing Well, it's a photo from one of the local lakes around here in Falun. It's a quite colorful and dreamy image that suits the music really well. So thanks a lot for Michael for making this to me. If you're still listening to this, I can just say thank you very much, because that means it's valuable to you. Yes, thank you so much for listening, and it would mean a world to me if you would also like to listen to this track on the streaming platforms or the video here at YouTube. I've already gotten so much nice feedback from you, my listeners, my audience, so I really appreciate it. The easiest way to find this track is go to my website mandolinsecrets.com/Bingsjö-Lilla-Långdans. I put a link in the description. You find the video, all the links to the streaming platforms, the link to the tutorials and all that. So ending with this, thank you so much for listening, and always remember, be a music maker.